We're live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Enlighten Up with Christy. Again, so excited to be back here with you in the studio, shooting wisdom and inspiration that I feel so grateful to be able to explore with you all. All right, so there's a few things I want to journey into today, and one of them is in my mind probably one of the biggest struggles that we all face, which is being reactive when things do not go our way. How many of you set an expectation, right? I know for me, I one of the areas of that I struggle with within myself is setting these bars or an expectation for not only for myself but for somebody else. And a lot of times I know that I've done this because it was a mechanism for me of safety. And so I've really had to sit with surrendering expectations. Okay, and more importantly, I find that the best teacher for me is the teacher I have right at home, the one who sleeps next to me, the one who I live with, the one who I love. And I've recognized in our relationship with Gonzalo, my partner, that a lot of times I will, in my head, set an expectation, and when he falls short of it, I get upset with him, which again is reactive behavior, right? So regardless to whatever degree we are reactive, it's not proactive. So reactivity means maybe inside we get upset, we say something, maybe we say something to them, maybe we don't say something, because that's also reactive if we're feeling something but we're not expressing it and communicating it. And so to give you, an example, and I'm gonna make one up right now, which is probably pretty close to an actual situation. But let's say your partner is super busy with work, and they don't have time for the kids. They don't have much time for planning, date nights or special time with you, and your anniversary's coming up. And so in your mind, you've set the expectation that, of course, they're going to plan something beautiful, something special, something romantic, or you've already expected they're not going to do anything because in the past they've modeled they forgot or they haven't made it important. So you've already played the scenarios in your head. Okay, these are expectations. Okay, now let's say you set the expectation, they didn't plan anything. They're not going to plan anything because they always forget. Well, you're setting the bar, you're setting the expectation, you're sending that energy to them, and then lo and behold, the day shows up, and guess what? They do exactly what you expected. Okay, but you expected it, and they delivered on it, but you're still mad because there's another expectation you had, which was you preferred it to be a different way, and it also didn't get done in that way. And so now you've got double fusion, double energetic fusion, and you send that energy to your partner, the disappointment. You might pull back. You might have this avoidant, or you might explode. It depends on what your style of confrontation is. You might go inward and just give the silent treatment, right? Whatever your mechanism is for dealing with the emotions that are going on, you're going to use it, right? And they're familiar with it too because they've seen you use it many times. It's like it's the secret weapon, and you both have secret weapons. I had a client, well, not a client, it's actually a friend. She called me this last week and she said, Christy, her and her partner, she goes, I think I'm going to divorce him. I think we're going to get divorced. And I said, wait, let's put the brakes on for a minute. Let's have a conversation before you make any decisions. So we jump on the phone, and the first thing I always want to do when before I work with a client is I just want to get as much information as I can. So I ask a lot of questions. And sure enough, her expectations kept getting revoked. She was let down time after time after time after time again. She would speak her need. Her partner might meet her there for a minute or so, and then would regress back to the same behaviors, which made her feel as though he didn't care, he didn't understand, they're not compatible, whatever the stories continued to be. And so we really started to walk through where she was, because a lot of times when couples come to me, they are at a complete breaking point. Most couples don't come to me when things are great, and wanting to keep it great. Most couples come in distress. And a lot of times it's because things have just been stacked over time, stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked. And so in this particular case, that's what happened, right? And then they had kids, and then they took up time, and then, intimacy, died down for whatever reason that might be. But all of it boils down to, I believe that core decision to grow together as a couple and to find a common language together that you both can understand, that you both can use tools when all hell hits the fan, you might say, and you can really navigate those muddy waters with grace, or together, just knowing, you know what, this is hard, but I'm not going to leave you, because there is a solution out there, we'll figure it out. And so I don't know if many of you have learned that the most recent statistic is that 65% of people who get married get divorced. So the statistics went up. Okay, it used to be 50%. So why? Why would anybody want to get married? Why? Well, in number one, we all have different opinions about that. But I also want to share that oftentimes the reason why is because we have unrealistic expectations. We may align with the partner in one area or one department, but we don't choose to use tools to grow together. Okay? And I will tell you right now, from what I've learned, is if one person is willing to grow and the other person is not willing to grow, it's not going to work. You're not going to have your needs met. And I hate to say that and be the bearer of bad news, but that is, I would say, 99% true. And the other 1% is for an anomaly. But if that's you, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's just great, Christy. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? Leave my marriage? No, but you can have an honest, or yes, maybe yes, you can have an honest conversation with your partner. And, I think a lot of people avoid the conversation because they want to avoid conflict. They don't want to have to deal with the dirty. And unfortunately, the dishes need to get done, okay? The dishes are never done when you're in a relationship, whether you're in a relationship with a friend, or a family member, or a romantic partner, or even a relationship with yourself. Guys, it can be very hard doing, this work, being on this planet, being human. And yet, it can also be absolutely amazing as long as we can recognize that we are human beings, not human doings. And in the human being consciousness, we're here to be at every level we're at, but also not to get too comfortable and settle, right? I think it was Ram Dass who I heard say, we don't walk outside and say, well, that tree is beautiful, and that one's ugly, and that one's pretty, and that one's too fat, and that one's too thin, and that one's too dark, and that one's too light. we look at the trees and we say, wow. I mean, for me, I don't know about you, I love trees. I'm obsessed with seeing trees, and I think they're all beautiful. I mean, I will sometimes just be in awe of a tree. And the beauty of using this this analogy in our own life is that everyone's different, and every situation in our life is different. And if we look at it, it's like, this is beautiful. It might be a beautiful mess, okay? But there's a message in this mess. And this message in this mess is meant to help me to evolve and get to my next level. Just like, you're going through that hard time with your partner. Have you exhausted the system to say, I've done everything I know how to do? I've had every conversation, I've read the books, I've used the tools, I've done everything, and yet nothing has changed, and it's not changing. And at that point, you've exhausted the system, and then you should make the choice whether or not you want to stay in the relationship or not. Okay? One of my spiritual teacher and mentor, David Guillaume, would say, I went to him one time regarding a particular choice for my life, and he said to me, did you exhaust it for 30 days? Like, did you give it everything you could in 30 days? And I said no, and he said, do that. Once you do that, then come back to me and tell me whether or not you want to leave. And I was like, okay. And guess what? With one area of my life, I did want to leave. The other area, I didn't want to leave. So it's also pertains to business or a friendship or, again, romantic partnership, anything in your life that's important to you that you might be struggling with. So exhaust it. Give it all the love, energy, and attention that you can. Pour yourself into it and then make your decision. Then you won't have a regret, because at the end of those 30 days, some of my clients, I have them do 90 days. It depends on how long they've been in the swampland. But sometimes it takes only 30 days, right? But sometimes they're feeling this surge of like excitement and a newfound wisdom and growth and whatever it is that they want to keep going. And so a lot of times at that 30-day mark or that 90-day mark, they absolutely know whether or not they should continue on. That's how you begin to know. But you also have to really be respectful of, that we only get back that which we are giving. All right? And a lot of times when we're talking about love languages, we give what we want to receive. For those of you that have not gone down the 5 love languages test and the quiz, do it today. There's one for kids too, so if you want to know your children's love language, that's also really important. But knowing your partner's love language is instrumental, okay? Because like Gonzalo and I have 2 different love languages. But if we didn't know that, we would go around just giving to the other person what we wanted. And we know that doesn't work. It really doesn't work. So, do a check with yourself right now and ask yourself, like, which area in my life really needs some work, some attention. Maybe it's the relationship with your kids. Maybe it's the relationship with yourself. Maybe it's the relationship with your mother and father, your siblings, a coworker, a friend, your partner. I don't know. Maybe it's the relationship with the Creator. Maybe you don't have one, and that's okay, because I've been there too. But maybe your life's not quite working out for you because you don't have that relationship. And the Creator's been knocking for a while and saying, you know what, I'd really love it if you paid attention. It'd make your life a lot easier. And it doesn't mean some guy with a white beard in the sky. I'm talking infinite intelligence. I'm talking whatever you want it to be, whether you believe in Native American or being with Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, or whatever it is to you. It's all leads home. It all leads to God. It all leads to the Creator, in my opinion. So have a a relationship with the Creator. The Creator wants to have a relationship with you, because if you don't, it usually gets harder before it gets better, okay? Because we are not meant to be the faucet. We are meant to be the faucet, not the water. And the water is the Creator, that divine inspiration that flows through all of us, and it's meant for all of us. Okay, I want to share with you that a lot of people are watching their social media and their Instagrams, their TikToks, and they're seeing influencers and people that have it all or appear to have it all, the perfect relationship, the perfect family, the perfect job, the perfect whatever. And it's all just an illusion. I just want to remind you about that. It's just all an illusion. Even this, that what you're watching with me, right, it's just an illusion. And I'll never forget a story that I heard by a rabbi shared about these people in a small community. They were all complaining that they didn't have these gifts that they wanted, and they wanted somebody else's gift in the village. So the rabbi said, I want everyone to meet in the middle of the town, and I want you to bring what it is that you want that's somebody else's in the town. I want you to write it down on paper, and I want you to come to the town. So they all came to the town, really excited because they heard this rabbi had the abilities to actually grant desires. And so he pointed out to everybody what you're holding in your hand. I want you to recognize, I want you to look across at the person who has this gift that you want. I want you to look at them right now. Okay? And what they're holding in their hand, their other hand, is their worst problem, fear, insecurity, and doubt right now that they have in their life. And I want you to walk over to that person, and I want you to give them the desires of your heart, what you want that's theirs. And what they're going to do is in that hand that has their insecurity, their fear, their doubt, they're going to hand that to you, and you get that in exchange. Okay? So everybody went to that person, and the paper was given to them. And every single person said, I do not want what you have. I don't want to trade you at all. Because what that person had, their doubt, their fear, their insecurity, their lack, was way more than any pleasure they would get from getting their strengths and their gifts. This was such a powerful story that really changed my life. Because I then began to look at other people that I had a tendency to put on a pedestal. Don't we all do that, right? They've got it made, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know that there are health ailments. We don't know that their children stopped talking to them years ago. We don't know that when they look in the mirror, they hate what they see and they have an eating disorder. We don't know that they have a drug problem. We don't know what's going on in their life. So anytime you think that someone has it better, I want you to remind yourself of the story and just do a reality check. Just do a reality check. Because what you have in your life right now is gold. There's people in the world right now that are starving. There are people in this world right now that are in warfare. There are people right now that live in a prison cell. There are people right now who are breaths away from dying. And yet, you're here. You have the ability, you have a chance to live a great life that's only meant for you. Not to be measured to anybody's followers or their bank account, because trust me, I've met a lot of people have big old bank accounts, and I wouldn't want to spend 2 seconds with them over dinner. So if we can just lighten up on the stories we tell us about the lives that other people have that we don't, and maybe spend a little bit more time showing gratitude for the gifts of our life, we're going to feel a lot better. And the universe has showed me this in quite a few instances lately. I don't know if you've noticed that things have sped up. And the higher up you are spiritually in terms of evolving as a human, you will begin to find that things are speeding up much faster. You will begin to see that if you do something negative to hurt someone or hurt something, or you've said something, or you've gotten angry and reactive, pay attention. Because pretty quickly after that, you may experience that something negative happens in your life. I'll give you an example. Last week, I was on the phone with Gonzalo, and I got upset for something. I can't remember what it was, but I got upset with him about something. I went into my appointment. I came out 1 hour later, literally for this silly, it's still a reason, so I take accountability and responsibility for this, but I got a $60 ticket on my car. And the reason why was because, you know how they put those lines, you have to park your car inside the lines? Well, I was like an inch out of the line. I got a $60 ticket for it. And I knew why. And then it wasn't, we were at a friend of ours' home for a spiritual experience. And we have a new puppy. If you guys haven't met Neo, you will. But he's biting everything, right? And I had my arms just had Neo marks all over it. And they had holes in my arms that looked like there was something wrong with me. And I was talking to this man next to me who I had just met. And I was like, yeah, I got this new puppy. And I was like, he's just biting the heck out of my arms. And I looked down at his arm, and he had a surgery on his arm. He had just had surgery, and he had this, stitches line that was this long. And he started holding his arm. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. The Creator just put somebody next to me who had it worse. I mean, I'm sitting here complaining about my arm, and look at his arm. Like he proceeded to tell me about his story and about what happened to him and how miserable he's been. He hasn't been the same since he was on one of those bikes or scooters, and he had an accident. And anyway, all these things. And I'm like, okay, there I go again. Like another lesson. I was complaining, and I saw somebody else worse. And the last thing I'm going to share with you before we close this episode out is we were in Argentina a few months ago. And it was super hot outside, and I was wearing shorts, and I remember walking by a mirror, like a mirror outside, and I saw my legs. And for those of you that read one of my books, I think it was Gather, maybe, I talked about the insecurity I always had about my legs since I was a little girl. And I remember looking at my legs and feeling like they didn't look fit, they looked like unhealthy. It was like they looked like I need to be working out. I had cellulite. I was just really judging myself. Literally within the next hour, the Creator showed me 2 people that had no legs. And I mean, in wheelchairs that had no legs. And I was like, oh my God, again, why am I not being grateful for the legs that I have that are healthy, and I can walk, and I can run, and I can hike, and I can move? See, if we're not grateful for what we have can be taken away. And by golly, I don't want that to happen to me. And I know you don't want that to happen to you. So, geez, these are just gentle reminders to just wake up in gratitude. Just wake up in gratitude. And anything you're complaining about, you don't have enough of, count the blessings of what you do have, and you will see your life begin to change. I appreciate you always and forever, and I want to encourage you all to go to my website, enlightenupwithchristy.com, and actually, is it Enlighten? I think it's Enlighten Up. We'll share it with you. We just changed